Hey guys, what's up? So we have a just completely stupid behaviour from individuals who are doing something called tombstoning. Um, this is something that's happened in the past. It happens every time we have any good weather, and anyone who isn't aware of what that is, it's basically diving from a cliff into the water. Why is this stupid? You don't know the layout of what's underneath you. If it's pure water, you're fine. If you tombstone and you jump into, say, for example, rocks, not only can you disable yourself, but how exactly are you going to rescue yourself? If you go into these rocks, you become disabled, you can't move, and then you drown. This is the problem that we're seeing at the moment. And we're not at the. We're also from the RNLI. That's It's mostly voluntary based, where people provide like the lifeguard service. At the moment, about 70 of 250 beaches are going to now have lifeguards, but initially, because of the coronavirus, we have not had any lifeguards. And people have been warned, look, don't do anything stupid, don't go in the water, because if you get into trouble, there isn't going to be anyone who's going to be able to save you. Because they've not had lifeguards, there have been deaths attributed to that. There were a couple of people who kind of capsized in their boat. There was about 3 or 4 girls. One of them ended up drowning, the others survived. But to get a helicopter to kind of rescue you, rather than taking about 5 or so minutes, would take about 20 minutes at the moment. So tombstoning has continued on Dorset's Jurassic Coast, less than 24 hours after 3 people were seriously hurt jumping 21 metres from a cliff. The casualties were taken to hospital after jumping from Durdle Door at about 4 o'clock British Standard Time on Saturday. The Coast Guard and police have warned against leaping from the dangerous landmark arch into the sea. However, despite warnings and advice to stay away, police said on Sunday some still saw fit to attempt it. Dorset Council had closed the roads around the scene for safety reasons, but hundreds of people still travelled to the area, police have said. A spokesperson for the police said that despite national coverage of the incident on Saturday, some still saw fit to repeat the tombstoning that inconvenienced thousands. The force added that on this occasion no one suffered any serious injuries. On Saturday, one of the casualties had to be pulled from the seabed. The Coast Guard said another jumped from the arch, which is 60 metres at its highest point, but managed to stagger back to friends before falling, feeling very unwell. Both were airlifted to the major trauma centre in Southampton. A third person had serious injuries to their body and was taken by police to Dorset County Hospital, Dorchester. The ages and gender of those involved have not been disclosed. Lulworth Coast Guard Rescue Team said, "We understand that 4 individuals jumped from Durdle Door, some 70 foot yesterday, encouraged by the crowds on the beach. Upsetting scenes like we and many others witnessed yesterday illustrate how very dangerous tombstoning is." They define tombstoning as the act of jumping into water from high platforms such as a cliff, bridge or harbour edge in a straight upright vertical posture resembling a tombstone. Day tripper Alona Lipinska from London said she saw several people jump from the arch while people on the beach clapped and encouraged it. Describing one jumper, she said it was really shocking how he landed. He landed on his stomach, he didn't land very well, and he disappeared into the water. For about 5 minutes he disappeared in the water completely. One guy managed to get him out. It was a shocking and devastating picture we saw. James Weald, owner of Durdle Door, which is part of Lulworth Estate, said he hoped the casualties recovered. He said it does illustrate, not to put too fine a point on it, the stupidity of some people to climb up on the door, which is fairly high and quite dangerous. I hope the publicity around these injured will stop people doing it or make them think about it before they try it. Mr. Wheel added, as for trying to prevent it over the years, we've put all sorts of fencing notices. Most of the fencing gets ripped down, notices get removed, and it's virtually impossible to stop those who are determined to do it. Dorset Council said it had closed the roads to Lulworth and Durdledore on safety grounds. The road to West Bexington in West Dorset has also been closed due to health and safety issues. Thousands of vehicles were parked in the car parks at Durdledore on Sunday morning. Many visitors were tourists and day trippers from London. BBC South reporter Lawrence Herdman described seeing a huge number of visitors. Mr. Wheels said he was not legally allowed to close the beach, and his car parks remained open, as closing them would not stop day trippers coming, and they would park on the road. Dorset Council's corporate director, Jonathan Mayer, said we would ask people to please think twice before visiting Dorset's beaches, as they are becoming overcrowded, and maintaining social distancing is becoming difficult. Assistant Chief Constable Mark Callaghan encouraged people to avoid busy areas and to avoid spreading coronavirus. He said the images circulated from Durdledore yesterday show that too many people made the decision to go to the beach rather than going elsewhere. The critical incident that occurred in this area demonstrates how important it is to act responsibly and not to overcrowd our beaches. The area has seen large numbers of visitors during the recent hot weather after lockdown restrictions were eased. So my opinion on this is, unfortunately, the police and coast guards have to do as much as they can, but for those who end up dying, it's their own fault. I don't have any sympathy for them, especially since this is a choice, not you're not being held to ransom over this. You're not being told either you jump or you die. It's a case of you jump and you will die. For the hospitals at the moment who are having to deal with this, I feel incredibly sorry for them. The NHS is quite stretched. We had to have multiple kind of like emergency hospitals, which were referred to as the Nightingale hospitals, made in different locations within the UK, just in case we ever actually had an extreme peak of the virus itself. Most of those at the moment are just kind of closed down. They're kind of still on an emergency footing, just in case anything happens. But because of this, many of them are facing A&Es full of these types of idiots. Those are the only people I feel sorry for, those that are having to work 16-hour days, exhausted, barely able to kind of stand, that they're having to do a lot of work under these kind of circumstances, and then they're not helped by people who just don't see basic safety. I can only hope that people actually make the correct decision, which is to actually not do this. But when people see the sun, especially, I will say this especially in the UK, then people act very stupidly. I don't blame Europeans for looking at Brits and thinking, what are they doing? Because we don't receive that much sun over here. We have recently had quite a lot of good weather, which is nice, but you don't have to act like this. Just please have some common sense. What do you think about this? Should the Coast Guards be trying to rescue these people? Should they just be left to their own devices, and just maybe the shocking reality of what they've done might hit them as they're about to die? Leave your comments down below. Again, with this, I'm not bothered whether you like or dislike this video. I just like to see what you think of this topic. And don't forget to subscribe.